Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. If you guys remember, just a few weeks ago we added on to the one side of the cage, and I'm going to add on one more time over on this side today. Yesterday we got over 2.5 inches of rain down here, and when I drove back to Minnesota prior to flying back down here to Louisiana, I left my rubber boots in my truck. So luckily I have an old pair of tennis shoes I can put on because I think I'm going to get wet today. Okay, well, most of the build is done. I got the tin on the roof. Now the next worst thing to do is do the actual door. I know I got a request from Lori. I don't know if it was on the Jones Act Survival Facebook page or if it was during a video, but she wanted to see how we did the gate or the door because she always has trouble with that. So they're fairly simple. I'm just going to walk you through just a couple of things that keeping them square and stuff like that really helps out with that. When I frame these, I always make my framing 23 inches, and I always make my door 22 inches. And then when it comes time for the height of the door, whatever it is, you just make it 1 inch shorter. This one here measures 67, so I'm going to make it 66. You can see with this door here, see how that 2x4 now has warped? This is all treated lumber, and treated lumber is just notorious for warping, so always try to start with at least the straightest 2x4. This one here, if it warps anymore, I'd probably have to replace it, but so far it hasn't affected the door at all. But just always make sure you start with the straightest 2x4s you've got. So when I do my doors, I always make sure that my two outside 2x4s, they run the full length, and then I just piece in between. I don't think it would really matter, it's just how I prefer to do it. Then I just go ahead and set this at the 22, and then I just measure in between. I need to cut two pieces at 14 3/4. When you put these screws in, keeping this 2x4 a little taller than this one, so when it goes in it'll suck it down flat. That'll kind of help you a little bit. Get nice and flush. Once you get all 4 of those corners pinned like that, next thing we want to do is we're going to want to put 1 screw in here going into here too, so this can't move back and forth. When you're doing the framing on the cage itself that the door is going to set into, make sure that the sides of it are level, because that if the top is level, the bottom is level, and the sides are level, then you have to put in a square door and everything should fit really nice. When you cut these boards, if you make sure that you cut them square, when you screw them together, half the battle on having a nice square door is done. You're going to want to come in with a speed square or a framing square and check it. This one is nice, there's no gaps. Regardless of how your cuts are like that, just make sure that you do put a square on it and get the door sitting like this so it's perfectly square. A lot of people will do this with their door, then they'll go ahead and just put the netting on it and they think they're good, but that door is going to fall apart. I like to take and cut 2 pieces of plywood. 4 would be nice, 2 is good, that's all I'm doing on this. I do 8-inch triangles. So like you can see here, what we're going to do is we're going to put a triangle on this corner, and then we're going to run one up here and put it in the opposite corner. That's going to keep that door from sagging at all. It cannot fall apart at all, and it really, really stiffens it up. Like I said, you can do all 4 corners if you want a really, really sturdy door. You just have to be careful with this stuff sliding down and everything like that. So when we put this on now, we have to remember we're going to have a hinge going here. We're going to have one on top and one in the middle. We want to make sure that if you do it like this is going to be right in the way of your hinge, or you're going to have to move your hinge way up here. Plus you're not getting as much support with this small of a triangle. So what I do is I come in, I mark this in 1.5 inches and this in 1.5 inches. Square that up, square this over. That's where I put my triangle of plywood. I know that my hinges are not bigger than this, so that leaves me enough space. After you get that part done, it's just time to put the hinges on. I like to go 3 inches from the top, 3 inches from the bottom, and then I put one in the center. I like to use bigger screws than what they send if you're using these little type hinges. And the other ones just seem to, they kind of tend to break loose. These stay in pretty good. After that, your door is pretty much done. You just got to flip it over, and then we'll put the fencing on this side. Since we made that door 1 inch smaller, we're going to need a 1/2 inch spacer to go underneath, so I'm just going to cut a couple pieces of plywood. I just take and set those like that just to give it a space. I just take and put 1 screw in that bottom hinge, 1 screw in the top hinge, and then I take a look at this. So, you know, I think that's a little bit too much of a gap there. It's a little bit more than what's on the bottom, but I didn't put any of the fencing on yet, so now I can just pull those screws and tap that to the left about 1/4 inch, and then I'll have a nice, decent gap that isn't quite so big. There we go, I just moved it over a little bit. Now I like that gap. Well, now that we got a door that works, the next thing we have to do, of course, is it can go in. So I put a block at the bottom and a block at the top to stop that door. Well, there you go. That's how I do my doors, and I seem to have good luck with them. They last a long time. The only thing that once in a while, I had a problem in Minnesota was one of these screws broke off. But other than that, the doors always seem to work good. Well, the Isbars have a brand new home now. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.